ladies and mostly gentlemen, today we're going to talk about maps. It's a bit of a random video topic, but I know a lot of people during the streams always ask, let's have a look at the map, let's see what the map looks like. So yeah, I'm going to go through Kul'Tiras on the Alliance, and quickly look at Zandalar for the Alliance as well to show you some of the flight points, and then I'm going to go on the Horde, show you the in Zandalar in more detail, and then show you Kul'Tiras for the Horde as well with the flight points and where everything is. So we're going to start off by jumping into Kul'Tiras. Now at the moment this is not complete, but the maps inside these are pretty much there. There is a few bits which I will mention which I think still need some work, and I think they're going to do some more details on. But overall, this map right here is obviously the three zones of Kul'Tiras. You've got Stormsong Valley, you've got Kul'Tiras Sound, and Drusvar there on the left. You've also got this here, which is Tol Dagor. That's actually a dungeon in for the Alliance, and then obviously for the Horde at 120. And it's a cool like prison dungeon. Also, spoilers, I guess. The intro to the scenario for the Alliance also starts there as well. So let's jump into Kul'Tiras Sound, and this is where you're going to find Borealis. Now, the one thing I noticed instantly about these maps is how HD they are. Now, you can zoom all the way in, and it is crisp as anything, and actually looking at the map files themselves, they are very, very HD, so I'm pretty impressed already just by how nice they look zoomed in. The thing about Borealis at the moment, I have a feeling, because it is a main city, it'll have its own map similar to Stormwind, which is on the outskirts here. But yeah, the one thing you'll probably notice straight away is the amount of flight points. Now, it is crazy, the amount of flight points in this zone, but what you got to think is there is also ferry points. Now, in Battle for Azeroth, they're adding ferries, so you've got one there, you've got a few by the water, and you can actually take these ferries around, and they're quite fast, just about as fast as a flight path. On the beta at the moment, the flight paths are super, super quick. I don't know if that's going to stay that way, but yeah, it's a very easy way of getting around. There was also a data mined Flight Master's Whistle, similar to in Legion, so that's going to be very handy indeed. So let's take a look at this quick zone. So you've got a few zones here, each one obviously having a bit of a chapter, so each little zone you've got like kind of there, you've got that one there. Freehold is actually the dungeon, that's an Alliance dungeon there. It's a sort of port for anyone that wants to go there, which is why it's so toxic. You've also got a neutral flight point down there as well, which is quite nice. But yeah, Virgil Hill, I don't want to spoil too much of the story because I have done most of the story in Kul'Tiras Sound, but overall it's a really nice looking map. I think this one especially might be the most complete. I did notice when you do zoom in, some of these assets here, like these little castles and stuff, they do seem a little, you know, especially these ones here, seem like obviously they've been cut out from a previous map, and they don't seem quite as perfect. Now, one thing you do see on a couple of these maps is like big 3D assets. I say 3D, but they're kind of drawn. It'll make sense in a minute. But none of them are featured on this thing. I have a feeling that Freehold might get a bit of a makeover, and potentially some of the buildings around here, because they seem a bit out of place, I guess. But time will tell. As I said, this is beta, so everything can change. You know, this video could be irrelevant in 20 minutes, but yes. So let's move on into Drusvar. Now, this is the haunted zone. This is what I was talking about previously. So this is Waycrest Manor up here, which is a dungeon. And yeah, you can see how it's drawn. So it's kind of like 3D and a bit more like out there, similar to Scarlet Monastery in Tyrannosaur Glades and stuff like that. So this is the haunted zone. It's a very cool story. Big fan of the zone. It was the zone that I actually played at BlizzCon, so it was probably one of the first zones they actually did. And the aesthetic and everything about it is just absolutely fantastic. I think the map probably isn't finished. I mean, zones like this down here seem a little bit bleak. And again, like with the buildings and stuff, it just seems a bit strange. Again, it could be complete and I'm just shitting all over it, but in my opinion, I think a few of the bits do probably will have some additions to them coming in the future patches. But yeah, again, few ferry points because this whole area here, like the this waterway, will be a way for you to get around on the ferries. But the ferries, you do get a ferry pass just as you start in the thing, so it's actually, and it teaches you how to use them and stuff like that, so that's quite good. And obviously the flight paths, not as many as Kul'Tiras Sound, but still a few, which is great, because obviously you won't be flying until, let's say, 8.2 or 8.1 even. Probably 8.2, more than likely. So moving up to the north of the island, now this is by far my favourite zone of this expansion, and probably the, it might even be my favourite zone of all time. I'm not going to lie, it's a great zone. If you see me stream it, it's fantastic. I'm sure you've seen a few other people in there as well. During the day especially, it's absolutely beautiful. Really reminds me of like a Nagrand from Outland, or just one of the nice kind of just makes you, it's got like a nice feel about it. It's a really cool zone. So I think this fort here probably needs a bit of work. It's a cool little zone, as again another quest zone, but a lot of these flight paths do represent quest zones. But you got these cool little windmills here, which actually there are windmills in that zone. And yeah, I don't know, it just feels like it needs a bit more work on the map. Shrine of the Storms is a dungeon, and it's a very, very cool looking place. It's the, I'll put a picture up here, it's like the tentacle priest thingamajig. It's awesome. There's nothing on the map for it at the moment. I assume they're working on something cool for that, obviously, because it is such a pinnacle point of that zone, and you can pretty much see it from any point because it's so high up. But yeah, cool zone, definitely very nice. I recommend when you do go to Kul'Tiras for the first time, go to this zone because it is just fantastic, and the story is great. And from playing through it seems like there's going to be quite a few cutscenes as well, which is obviously something that is good, and it come into its own in Legion, really, with a lot of cutscenes and stuff to bring the story of each zone a bit more front and center. So that is Kul'Tiras, or Kul'Tiras, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to jump over on the Horde now and show you what Zandalar is like for the Horde. Then after that, I'm going to show you on that Horde what Kul'Tiras looks like on a Horde, like flight zones and stuff like that. And then we'll jump back on the Alliance right at the end to show you what sort of environment Zandalar will look like for an Alliance character at 116 and above. So yes, let's go onto the Horde right now. So we're on our Horde now, and this is what their island for leveling will look like. So this is Zandalar. Obviously featured on the map just down here below Kul'Tiras. They are going to obviously move that all around, so do not worry too much about that. Again, similar to Kul'Tiras, they haven't done the Outer World map, but that's a work in progress. But they have done the maps inside them, and I've got to say, people say a lot about Horde bias in this expansion, especially with these maps. I kind of get a bit suspicious that it might actually be. So let's start off with probably the best looking map of this expansion, and it is this one. This is Zuldazar. Now, Tazar, I'm going to really butcher these names, I'm so sorry, by the way. Tazaralor is basically the main city, similar to Borealis. I do have a video exploring that. If you want to check that out, it's in the top right marker of the screen right now. If you want to watch that, I'm going to probably do one for Borealis when Borealis is more fleshed out. It's getting there, but it's not quite finished at the moment. So I haven't done a lot of Horde questing. I've done a lot of, obviously, Horde exploring, but I haven't done a lot of questing, so I can't give you too much detail into all of this. I've completed a part of this zone and a bit of Valle Dune on the alpha, so yeah. So obviously, front and center, again, these are really HD, which is really nice. The big temple and the kind of market district and the port, which I think, again, will have their own individual maps, similar to Stormwind and stuff like that. I noticed this really cool-looking dinosaur thing down here, which is nice. But yeah, a few islands, again, with flight paths. I don't think there's a ferry thing around here. It doesn't seem like it, at least. But yeah, again, a lot of flight paths. Some neutral flight paths, again. Nezingwari Gameland, I'm very excited to do that questing. I think all the Nezingwari quests are absolutely fantastic across all of the expansions, so that's going to be good to do, and I'm sure there'll be some fun, happy times ahead in the Rootway. You've got Tordazar, which is a dungeon for the Horde. It's one of the first dungeons you do. It was live on the BlizzCon floor, and I did it, and it's very fun. It was fun back then, and actually quite difficult. These days, a bit easier. Yeah, I don't know what's quite going on over here. I don't know if there is going to be some more added, or it's just going to kind of stay like that. Either way, it kind of looks like a full, nice map overall. Cool mountains and stuff like that. That's something you don't see a lot in the Kul'Tiras maps, like actual mountains. They're more just like kind of hills, but these are actual legit mountains, and they look very, very cool. So, moving out from this zone, you have Nazmir, which is where Uldir is. Now, Uldir is the first raid of the expansion. People have been doing testing for that this week. And I've been doing that as well, so if you've been checking that out, thank you very much. I also have some videos on it, doing all of that. So it's a nice zone. It's got like a kind of creepy, awesome vibe to it, and it's a lot of fun. I haven't done a lot of questing here. I've done a bit on my Alliance character back on the Alpha, and kind of interacted with the Blood Trolls, who are very, very creepy, and they have a lot of cool stuff going on. And with Uldir as well, one of the bosses, and a couple of the bosses in there, the big theme of it is blood, and the blood, they do not hold back on that. It is very, very graphic. You got some cool stuff as well. You got these, obviously, the 3D thing there. Got this necropolis. You've got this looking turtle thing. I'm not really too sure what that actually is. And a temple over there. It's this map seems like one of the more complete ones. Again, with kind of the little things like that. But I think these are. It's weird because you look at like the quality of that, and then compare it to something like that. That looks like it was just like ripped straight out of like the Eastern Plaguelands map from Vanilla. But Again, I think overall, because most of the time people will view the map like this, I think it's completely fine how it is. So yeah, it's a cool map and a very cool zone. I recommend it. But leaving the best for last, of course, Valle Dune. Now this is a zone I've done completely on my Alliance and on my Horde because I loved it that much. It's the new sand zone, new desert zone. They opened it up last, similar to Stormsong Valley, which ended up being a really great zone as well. So both of the zones that they opened up last were really good. Fantastic story here. There's a big thing missing here in the slithering gulch. There is a big, massive, I'll put a picture of it, it's a big old snake temple with lightning and stuff coming down from it. There is no way that they're not going to put some sort of awesome graphic here for it. So that's going to be up here. I'll mark my words, it's going to happen. Keep an eye on Wowhead, I'm sure they'll be posting it as soon as it comes. But it'll be very soon. The beta's coming along very, very fast, and they're adding stuff all the time. You have a temple here, which is cool. Again, a few flight zones and a few temples. This zone over here is really cool. It's like a Sethrak area. And this here has actually ended up being an Alliance zone, which is kind of cool. And I actually didn't expect so much of an Alliance presence in the Horde and Alliance and the opposite zones, but there actually is quite a big presence for them. So speaking of which, going out into Kul'Tiras as a Horde, you can see there are actually a few zones for you. Even, like, you would expect them kind of on the coast, but there are a few. I haven't done any of these quests here. I've been up there on my Alliance character. There's going to be a lot of world PvP up there, I guarantee it, because there's a few Alliance quests that are kind of around here, and you actually have to infiltrate the base for some of the questing, so that'll be very interesting. And again, there's there's no neutral zones in this in Stormsong Valley for the Horde, but yeah, definitely a few points. So down in Drusvar, there is one neutral flight point for the Horde. So I don't know. Oh no, two. I'm an idiot. Smuggler's Cove. So yeah, there's two. So it seems like you're going to kind of dominate this left side here. The right side seems kind of on its own accord. I couldn't really being and doing that zone. I couldn't imagine the Horde being in that zone. So that kind of makes sense to me. And then of course Tirgar Sound. There are again a few. You got that neutral zone we said about earlier. Freehold again is a neutral zone. It seems like. Yeah, and not much, but I think most of the Horde going into Kul'Tiras is happening in Stormsong Valley, like we saw with a few flight points, and even ones up at the Shrine of the Storm. But yeah, so let's jump back over to the Alliance now, just to finish this off and show you what the Alliance have for Zandalar. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up real quick, because this video is dragging on way too long for just a video about maps. So, absolute ton of flight paths in Zuldazar for the Alliance. So this is seems like pretty much the main zone. I've done a few bits down here, I think it was. Don't want to give too much away, but there was some stuff with the Dark Irons, which is very, very, very fun. So look forward to that. But yeah, again, the Nezingweri is neutral, so that'll be good for both factions. And yeah, again, a ton of flight paths for the Alliance in Zuldazar. Valle Dune, this is one I have done the war campaign in. 3 zones here. This one seems to be your main one, and there is a few little bits here and there. And there is one there as well, which interestingly isn't actually marked on the map. But that is, you do some quests with the Sethrak, which is quite nice. And a neutral one for the Tortolan area up there. And then finally in Nazmir, there's 2 right next to each other, which I believe is a bug, judging by the name of it. And again, not many zones. I think the main zone that you will be invading seems like Zuldazar in this instance, as opposed to the rest of the zones. But I think they are putting questing in each of the zones. And I think once you've done the war campaign, there will be world quests as well in those zones. So yeah, I'm not 100% on all of that. I'm sure you guys can fact check me. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to make a quick video showing off the maps because so many people always ask me about them and stuff like that. So guys, if I've got anything wrong, do let me know in the comments because I'm always wrong, as you know. So before I go, I'd like to give a massive shout out to my amazing patrons and YouTube sponsors. You guys are awesome. And if you're interested in supporting the channel like that, links are all down below in the description. And yeah, so leave a like on this video if you liked it, guys, and subscribe if you haven't. I also have a partner Discord channel where we talk about Battle for Azeroth and all sorts of other things. So all of the links to that is down in the description. So with that, I'll see you next time.